welcome back to my channel. My name is Casey. I'm so happy to have you here with me today because today we're going to be talking about eyeshadow. Specifically, eyeshadow and eyeshadow palettes for fall because apparently it's fall. Don't get me wrong, I love fall. I love the smells, I love the feel, the chill in the air. I always associate it with a brand new school year, a fresh start, sort of the whole new year, new me vibes. The thing is, winter comes after fall, and here in Minnesota, winter lasts at least 4 months longer than it should. And every year it gets a little bit harder to accept that summer is over.
I'm just not ready.
I'm just not ready to let go.
I hate goodbyes.
One thing that has been helping me cope is watching favorite eyeshadow palettes for fall videos. And since I love talking about eyeshadow and I love swatching, I thought it'd be fun to do one of these videos myself. I'm gonna try my hardest to not spend a lot of time talking about each one. So I'm not gonna be giving a thorough review on each palette. I'm mainly gonna talk about why I chose it, what I love about it. Of course, I'm gonna swatch as I go because I can't help myself. But I will also pop swatches up on the screen here for you. When choosing which products I wanted to share with you today, of course, there were certain eyeshadows and palettes whose color story just exudes fall and it was a no-brainer. Of course, I need to include those. But I also tried to challenge myself and choose products that when I purchase them more so for the fantasy. In seeing others use these products or seeing swatches of them, they just put this glimmering fantasy image in my mind of what I thought this product would deliver to me, how it would make me feel, how it would make me look. I'm sure many of you can understand what I mean. However, since purchasing them, the fantasy has sort of faded away and I haven't gotten the use out of them that I wanted to or that I should. So I'm pulling them out with the intention of getting more use out of them this fall. Of course, my intention with this video isn't to inspire you to buy more products. My main goal is just to inspire you to shop your stash. Pull out some color stories that to you exude fall. Get creative and mix and match different palettes for your own unique color stories. Find some of these gems, find some of these fantasy items that you haven't gotten the use out of that you wanted to. I just want you to have fun with your makeup. I believe that's all I wanted to mention here for the intro, so let's get to talking about eyeshadow. The very first palette that came to mind when thinking about this video was the Dose of Colors Cutting Edge palette. This was sort of a spur of the moment splurge for me. I had never tried the Dose of Colors eyeshadow formula. I just saw this color story and swooned. It did not disappoint. This is a beautiful, beautiful palette and have since discovered that I love the Dose of Colors shadow formula. So much so that I have purchased almost all of these 5-pan palettes. In fact, in addition to this one, I also pulled out the Blushing Berries because look at it.
That's fall.
I love a burgundy color story. This rich plum, this beautiful magenta burgundy color, these two beautiful rose tones. This is such a vixen sultry palette. It's not super exciting because it's all mattes. I love taking just a matte palette from a formula that I love and then using some of my favorite toppers or indie singles to spice things up to add the shimmer and sparkle I desire. I definitely want to be using this to do some smoky eyes this fall. Another palette that came to mind immediately is the Huda Beauty Naughty Nudes palette. I cannot begin to tell you how long I longed for this palette. I felt that I had this color story over and over again in my collection. I mean, this is essentially a warm, neutral color story.
Hello.
I love neutrals, I love burgundies, I love browns. I have these colors, but I love her formula. I love that pretty much all of her palettes are essentially a neutral, but she has a way of incorporating these vibrant, beautiful, dazzling, sparkling, glimmering, complementary shades with a beautiful formula. I know it looks very burgundy, very warm, and even now having it, I won't reach for this because in my mind, I still envision it as being this warm burgundy palette. But then I pull it out and I'm always surprised by how many looks I can create with this. I can go very neutral, I can go very light, I can go very deep. With all these fun different shimmers, there's just such a wide variety in this palette, especially in her bigger palettes. Her fun metallics and shimmers all have this beautiful, bouncy, reflective nature to them that make them just so stunning on the eyes. They're fun to mix and match together. They're so beautiful, and I'm never disappointed with the looks that come out of this palette. In fact, if I'm having a bad eyeshadow day, my eye look just isn't coming out the way that I want, I will often just reach for one of these shimmers and put it all over my lid and call it a day, and it does the job. It's beautiful, it's glimmering, it's everything that I would want. I pulled out one more Huda palette, the Huda Beauty Nude Medium. I mean, if we're being honest, I really didn't need to purchase this one. This is such a similar color story to Naughty Nude. I'm having an incredibly difficult time trying to show you the palettes without the light reflecting and blinding us. So I apologize for that, but I mean, any normal person would look at the two of these and say that they're the same. But an eyeshadow lover like myself, and I assume like you, would think they're different and could see the benefit of having both. I mean, this is a stunning neutral palette all year round, especially if you love the Huda formula. But I pulled this one out because it has some of the bronze and coppers and rich chocolate browns that the Naughty Nude does not. And if you're new here, I lust over bronzes and chocolate browns. Paired with these beautiful rosy mattes, this palette creates some beautiful, beautiful looks. The next palette is one of those fantasy items I was talking about in the intro. It's also the most expensive palette in my collection, and it's my Pat McGrath Mothership Vibe palette. I do not use this nearly enough. Now, actually, I take that back. I actually dip in here a lot for the mattes. I really enjoy her matte formula, specifically, obviously, the two browns. This purple is actually quite lovely. Her mattes have somewhat of an intuitive quality to them. I put it on my eyes and it just blends out and does what I want it to without me having to do much work at all. They're lovely, and I actually do get a fair amount of use out of this palette for the mattes. But specifically, I'm talking about the 4 special shades. I don't use them nearly as much as I fantasized before I owned this palette. One of my favorite looks I've ever done was with this red shade here. I placed it all over my lids. It made me feel sort of sexy. It made me feel sultry. It made me feel glamorous. It made me feel sort of like a vampire. In a good way. It was a total vibe. And ever since doing that look, I have wanted to do it again. So I'd like to recreate that look this fall. However, putting red all over your lids is most certainly a mood, so we'll see if it strikes. But this pink and these 2 iridescent shades, me swatching them here is not gonna do them any justice. I don't agree that this palette is worth $125. I do have issues with this palette. There is something to be said about the experience this delivers. And if you're a true makeup lover, that experience is so unique to the Pat McGrath palette, at least for me. So I'm not disappointed that I bought it. I'm disappointed that it doesn't fulfill the fantasy for me, but I do have it. And I'm gonna use it more this fall because this color story is beautiful. The warm tones, this rich purple, again, this Vixen stunning red, and of course the 2 extraterrestrial sparkling topper shades. Next, I have a ColourPop palette. I had many ColourPop palettes, many ColourPop products at one point in my makeup journey. I have since decluttered many and depotted whatever was remaining. However, the one ColourPop palette I have never depotted is the Baroque palette. I'm not much for packaging, but this one gets me. I love the navy, I love the floral, the gold embossing. I just can't depot this one because I can't get rid of the packaging. It's a weird feeling for me because I don't feel that way about packaging ever. The Baroque palette, if you are not familiar, is in my opinion one of ColourPop's most unique palettes. I mean, how many palettes do we see being released almost on a daily basis? And how many of those palettes have we seen with this kind of color story? This is a cool tone lover's dream. This fills a hole in my palette collection because I've got a lot of neutrals, and while I do have cool tones, there's just something more edgy about this. It's like these slate grays and this bold, rich navy blue and these pops of cool tone duochromes. Again, I don't know why I'm swatching because I don't think the camera's picking this up at all, but it's such a fun one. I don't wear blues very often, but if I do, it's gonna be a navy. I'm really looking forward to some of these cool tone smoky eye looks coming this fall and through winter. The next palette is another one I have not gotten nearly enough use out of. The Ace Beauté Tropical Vibes palette. You've probably heard me say this before, but in case you're new here, even though I'm a neutral lover at heart, I lust after these earthy, grungy greens. This is the green palette of my dreams. I do have a video up on my channel where I created 2 looks with this palette. I'll link it in the description box below for you if you want to check it out. I don't know what more to say about this palette other than it delivers all of the earthy, grungy green tones I desire. All of these mattes are colors we see dispersed all over the ground when the leaves fall. And using these earthy colors on your eyes, it's going to look absolutely stunning. It's going to flatter anyone and everyone. This is such a fun palette, especially if you're a green lover. Paired with these stunning, soft, bouncy metallics, My goodness. This one, Rainforest especially, is my favorite. It's so reflective, sort of a grungy, cool tone take on your classic champagne halo eye. Love this palette. This next palette is brand new to me. I have used it a whole one time. And I actually bought it specifically to treat myself because I'm sad about fall. This is a fall color story. It is the Estate Cosmetics Mystic Forest palette. I mean, right? The warm earthy shades, some more grungy greens. I received the Bailey Sarian and Estate Cosmetics palette. I can't remember what it was called, but I received it in an Ipsy Glam Bag Plus. I loved that palette. That palette caught me off guard. The Estate Shadow formula is beautiful. Seriously underrated. I remember seeing this palette come out, I believe it was released a year ago. Don't quote me. I have no idea what made it come to mind here in the last couple of weeks, but it did. And I could not stop thinking about it, which sounds insane. All I could think about was an eyeshadow palette. You know what I mean. We're both makeup lovers. You know the feeling when a palette or a makeup product clings to your heart and it's something you just can't stop thinking about. You know that feeling. It's always in the back of your mind. So I splurged. I treated myself to a new palette. It is the same great formula as a Bailey and Sarian palette. Bailey and Sarian palette. It is the same beautiful formula as the Bailey Sarian palette, and I'm so excited to have another Estate Cosmetics palette in my collection. This bronze color and also this beautiful emerald green. This feels like velvet in the palette. I feel like I could just sit and touch this for an hour and it would soothe away all of my stress. Look how beautiful those are. Look how reflective and shiny those are. I wish you could feel the texture of these. I feel Estate Cosmetics is a very underrated brand. Their liquid liner is one of my favorites. Their baked highlighters are also stunning. I wish they would come to Ulta so that more people could experience their formulas. I would love to see them become more widely known and hyped up. Two more palettes to share with you. This is the one I'm wearing on my eyes today. Well, I'm wearing half of this and half of another palette. It is the Sigma Enchanted palette. This is sort of my mystical, ethereal palette of my dreams. The way this palette inspires me is so unique. So far, I mentioned eyeshadows that are sort of sultry and Vixen-esque. This palette makes me feel pretty. Not cute, not sexy, not sultry, pretty. I love the Sigma matte formula. I'm a little iffy on their shimmers. I go back and forth. Today, I love the way my look turned out today. I used a couple of these mauve mattes and then I used the shade Electrum all over my lids. I love the way this look turned out today. But I pulled this one out because I feel many of the palettes that I've talked about so far are either very green or very warm. And I haven't been into warm tones the way I have in the past. So I thought this palette would be perfect because we still get a little warmth, we get the grungy earthy tones, but we have all of these fun, ethereal, sparkly type shimmer toppers and these cool tones to work with. So I really enjoyed this palette. I forget about it a lot, but every time I open it, the creativity just takes over. So I had to include this one. The other palette I have on my eyes is the Bookish Beauty palette from Copacetic Cosmetics. This released a couple of months ago. I did receive this palette in PR. This color story is very intimidating to me. I look at this and I have a little panic attack.
Help?
I don't know what to do with all this color. I truly wish I had more of a creative eye to play with color the way other creators do. It just doesn't speak to me the same way. However, if I take this apart and look at each shadow individually, this is so much fun. These three metallics, shimmers, I don't even know what to call them, are incredible. That middle shade, Fantasy, it's like melted green metal. It is so reflective and shiny. I think that would be so fun as a one and done shadow look. And that pinky shade, Bernice, is like a trichrome. It's pink and orange and peach. I did a look with this palette and I used Bernice all over my lids. The way my makeup made me feel that day was just something else. The power of makeup is so cool. Anyway, for today's look, I incorporated these two purpley mattes throughout my crease and outer corner. So even though this as a whole terrifies me a little bit, the handful of times I've used it, I've loved the way my makeup look has turned out. I love the way my look has made me feel. And there's something to be said that even though I'm a neutral lover, there's something about stepping outside your comfort zone and playing with color from time to time. With fall coming up, these two shades especially, They're gonna be so fun. Lastly, for palettes, this is a cheat because it's not a real palette. This wasn't even an intentional BYOP type of palette situation. I purchased these shadows during the Copacetic anniversary sale in July, and when I received them and opened them all up and saw them all together, I couldn't believe the perfect color story they created. This is stunning. And it was by accident. Rather than adding these singles to my Copacetic palettes, I decided to just keep them all together and keep this as my curated palette for fall. I won't speak much more on it, but I'll pop some swatches up on the screen here for you, and I will have all of these shades listed if you're interested in checking any of them out. If any of these swatches are speaking to you, you want to add them to your own collection, because there are some really, really fun standout shades in here. This shade Shrooms is one of my favorite duochromes. It has that green, gold, red flip with tons of sparkle. This shade Cookie Crumbs is such a fun, sparkly topper. It looks like it's going to be white and icy when swatched, but when dispersed on the lids, it translates more as just a beautiful gold iridescent sparkle. This shade I Love You, I Know, let me tell you, it's very reminiscent of that red shade from the Pat McGrath palette. It delivers that red velvet vixen vibe. Very similar. I won't speak anymore on this palette, but I wanted to share this because I am a Copacetic Cosmetics affiliate, and I feel weird because I don't want to come across as I'm always like pushing it or talking about the brand. I just hope that in me sharing their products is never taken the wrong way. Affiliation aside, I love their eyeshadow formula. I think they have some stunning, stunning toppers. And at this point, with how big my eyeshadow collection has grown, I'm looking more so to purchase singles and beautiful, unique, glimmering toppers, and Copacetic is just a brand that really delivers that for me, and so I like talking about them because I enjoy the brand and what they have to offer. As I said, my goal with this video was just to inspire you to go through your collection and to sort of curate your makeup as we head into fall and the colder months. I would love to hear from you down below. Let me know what palettes you plan to be reaching for, or what palettes you are currently reaching for. I'm curious where you're at. Are you feeling all of the fall vibes? Are you a pumpkin spice lover? Are you totally full-fledged fall into it right now? Or are you like me and having a hard time accepting that summer's over as we transition into fall and winter? Leave me a comment and let me know. I want to thank you so much for your time today. Thanks for hanging out with me and talking to me about one of my favorite things, eyeshadow. I hope you hit the subscribe button so you come back next time. And until next time, I hope you have the most wonderful day. How are you? What's going on today? Oh, you smell so fresh. You smell like sunshine. Are you excited for fall? You probably are. Fall is probably your jam because of your long, lustrous hair. You probably like the cooler weather. Let me kiss you. One day I'm gonna kiss you on those furry little lips. Not today, but someday. Oh, there you go.